on this Sunday night.
There obviously was a tremendous mistake made, and what compounded the mistake was the attempt to try to cover up.
The Saudis admit publicly they killed Jamal Khashoggi, but still aren't giving clear answers. Why and what exactly happened in that consulate? The twists and turns in the Saudi story.
I need my mail and bills to pay.
Canada Post workers prepare to walk off the job in 4 cities. What it means for your bills and if you've got cannabis in the mail.
Get out of my car now!
I don't know where I am.
Get out!
The Fifth Estate finds 24 Uber drivers in Canada who have faced criminal charges over rides.
Uber's whole mission is to get as many drivers on the road driving for Uber, come what may.
What you should know about how they get behind the wheel. This is The National. A lot has happened in the 3 weeks since Jamal Khashoggi disappeared, from angry denials on the part of the Saudis to a qualified admission that those who believed he was murdered were right all along. Tonight, we learned that Saudi King Salman himself has now offered personal condolences to Khashoggi's family. Katie Simpson has the latest in this ever-twisting story.
Joining us now from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia's foreign minister.
Saudi Arabia is changing its story again and chose Donald Trump's favorite TV station, Fox News, to get its message out.
He was killed in the consulate. We don't know in terms of details how. We don't know where the body is.
Less than 24 hours after Saudi officials claimed Jamal Khashoggi died in a fistfight, the foreign minister now says it isn't clear what happened. The only thing for certain, he says, the Crown Prince was not involved.
This was an operation that was a rogue operation. This was an operation where individuals ended up exceeding the authorities and responsibilities they had. They made a mistake when they killed Jamal Khashoggi in the consulate, and they tried to cover up for it.
Even before this latest explanation, public doubt in the Saudi story exploded around the world. In the UK.
No, I don't think it's credible. I think it's a terrible case. I think we support the Turkish investigation into it.
In France, the finance minister demanded further investigation.
Mais on ne peut pas avoir de relation de confiance.
Saying it can't have a relationship with the Saudis if it isn't based in fact. And then there's the U.S. Donald Trump told the Washington Post late Saturday, obviously there's been deception and there's been lies. But in that interview and in earlier comments, he again defended the relationship with the kingdom, pointing out it buys a lot of weapons from the U.S.
That's not helpful for us to cancel an order like that. That hurts us far more than it hurts them.
But at least one country is ready to take action.
Drittens stimme ich all denen zu, die sagen, gerade was auch
German Chancellor Angela Merkel says under the current circumstances, her country can't export arms to Saudi Arabia. That's not a position Canada shares. Over the weekend, the Foreign Affairs Minister said in a statement, the Saudi explanations so far lack consistency and credibility. But there are no signs the Canadian government plans to stop or pause the sale of billions of dollars worth of light armored vehicles to Saudi Arabia over this issue. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Ottawa.
Now, as Katie pointed out, the Saudi position on the Khashoggi affair has been full of twists and turns over the past 3 weeks, but President Trump's position has remained consistent. As disturbing as he finds all this, when it comes to trade, a deal is a deal. Saudi officials initially claimed Khashoggi left the consulate on October 2nd. When asked about footage showing him leaving, they remained silent. Turkish media released images and video of an alleged Saudi assassination squad arriving in Istanbul that day. While the Saudis say nothing, Trump expresses serious concern.
It's a very sad situation. It's a very bad situation.
The Saudis dismiss the Turkish allegations, calling the men tourists. Trump reiterates his concern and the importance of the Saudi trade deal.
We don't like it even a little bit. But as to whether or not we should stop $110 billion from being spent in this country, knowing they have 4 or 5 alternatives, 2 very good alternatives, that would not be acceptable.
The first indication the Saudi story could be changing. After a conversation with the Saudi king, Trump suggests rogue killers could have done it, and word leaks that Saudi officials are preparing an interrogation gone wrong response. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo reveals the Saudis acknowledge something happened to Khashoggi, but the administration again cites the importance of the relationship.
They continue to be an important counterterrorism partner. They have custody of the two holy sites. They are an important strategic alliance of the United States.
They're an important ally.
The Saudis admit Khashoggi was killed, but not in an interrogation, in a fight, and deny direct responsibility. Trump calls the admission an important first step, but stands by the arms deal. So here we are tonight, processing yet another twist in this story, and no indication that even that is enough to drive a wedge between Washington and Riyadh.
Still to come on The National, consumers are getting their chance tomorrow to make their case for a better code of conduct for telecom companies. Why one man is going public about misleading sales practices.
Vancouver is getting a new mayor, and he's making big promises on affordable housing. But can he deliver?
But first, people checking their mailboxes could find it empty in 4 cities. Canada Post unionized workers could walk off the job at midnight Eastern. Renee Filipponi follows developing stories for us Sundays on The National. And Renee, what's the situation?
Well, Ian, there's a really good chance that people who live in Windsor, Halifax, Edmonton, and Victoria won't get any mail tomorrow. And that's because rotating strikes in those communities are set to go if the union and Canada Post can't hammer out a deal in the next few hours. And depending on how those talks go, other cities could be next.
I hardly get any mail anymore. Everything is done online, so it's not going to affect me personally.
I need my mail and bills to pay, and I have to see what's going on. And if I have mail from family or somebody, it's really important that I get that.
It's going to affect a lot of people, so I mean, postal workers have got to do what they got to do. So in today's climate, I support them.
Now, for its part, Canada Post says it's committed to working out a deal and doing what it can to keep service going during the disruption. But the possibility of a strike has hung over Canada Post since the summer, when workers voted overwhelmingly in support of walking out. Now, their big issues are that routes are too long and that they're having trouble keeping up with packages because of a big jump in online shopping.
Canada Post hasn't changed their approach. They still refuse to talk to us about any of our major health and safety issues. And they still refuse to guarantee equality for rural and suburban mail carriers.
Renee, you mentioned the issue with keeping up with packages, and the legalization of cannabis is going to be an issue for some people, considering Canada Post now delivers marijuana.
Yeah, you're right. That's a big one, Ian. Now, some areas like Alberta and Nova Scotia say they already have backup plans, like using Purolator, for instance. Ontario, which has no pot stores, also says it has a plan, but it's not said what it is, and that could be a problem for consumers there.
All right, well, through the night, you'll be watching to see what happens. Thanks, Renee.
You're welcome.
High housing prices and low vacancy rates. They're a problem in many cities across the country, but perhaps nowhere more so than Vancouver. Now the city's elected a new mayor, Kennedy Stewart, who's promising to tackle affordability. But as Briar Stewart tells us, he could be facing opposition from some of his new colleagues.
For the first time in more than 35 years, Vancouver's new mayor is an independent. Kennedy Stewart didn't represent any of the city's municipal parties, but he is a former NDP MP.
They voted for a plan that is bold but achievable.
Stewart ran a campaign which focused on a key concern for many Vancouver voters.
Housing was big because I'll never be able to afford to have a house in this city, so that's also concerning.
I think that a lot of the land restrictions need to be changed. If we added a couple more stories into high-density areas, I think that would really help.
Part of Stewart's plan includes building 85,000 homes over the next 10 years, a third of which would be rental housing run by nonprofits. He's also proposed tripling the empty homes tax, a measure designed to curb speculation.
When you talk to people on the ground, they are hurting. Their rents are going up, they're moving out of the city, and small businesses feeling it. So that's going to be the #1 priority.
But moving forward on those promises could be difficult. The 10-person council is divided on how to deal with the lack of affordable housing. Half of the elected councillors are from the NPA, the non-partisan association, a party that's right of centre and generally perceived as being pro-business.
This has been a very unprecedented election.
Its candidate for mayor, Ken Sim, lost to Stewart by fewer than 1,000 votes.
It will really depend on what Kennedy Stewart can talk people into supporting.
Francis Beulah is a journalism instructor who specializes in city politics.
Whether everyone on council, especially the MPA councillors, will be willing to commit that level of city resources to below market housing, that's going to be the question.
And that will become clearer once the new mayor and council get to work after being sworn in on November 5th. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Vancouver.
2 other provinces are holding municipal elections this week, Manitoba on Wednesday and tomorrow, Ontario. A number of races there could be especially interesting. Here are 3 to watch.
We don't believe in more politicians, more bureaucracy.
Toronto voters will elect only 25 councillors. That's down from 47 in the last election. Ontario Premier Doug Ford made that change, and it pits several current councillors against each other. So the new council will look different. And as John Tory seeks a second term as mayor, he's being challenged by his own former chief planner, Jennifer Keesmaat.
We need to be more aggressive on economic development. Instead, we have seen the slide get worse.
Many are watching to see if Patrick Brown gets back into political office. He's running to be mayor of Brampton after he was forced out as Ontario Progressive Conservative leader over allegations of sexual misconduct.
With ranked choice voting, you don't just vote for one candidate.
And a Canadian first in London, Ontario. Voters there will use a ranked ballot to indicate their top 3 choices for mayor and councillor. In each race, the candidate with the fewest votes will be eliminated and the ballots recounted until someone gets more than 50% support.
A landmark nuclear arms treaty that helped end the Cold War is in jeopardy tonight on the eve of the U.S. National Security Advisor's visit to Moscow. Russian officials are threatening Washington with retaliation over Donald Trump's latest declaration. As the CBC's Ellen Morrow tells us, Trump says the U.S. is pulling out of the treaty.
We're not going to let them violate a nuclear agreement and go out and do weapons, and we're not allowed to.
In no uncertain terms, President Trump blamed Russia for the U.S. pulling out of the INF treaty.
We've honored the agreement, but Russia has not, unfortunately, honored the agreement, so we're going to terminate.
The treaty banning certain short and medium-range missiles was signed by Ronald Reagan and Mikhail Gorbachev in 1987. It saw the U.S. and then USSR destroy more than 2,600 missiles. But the treaty is in near tatters, both sides long pointing the finger at the other.
Make no mistake, the current situation with Russia in blatant violation of this treaty is untenable.
They are constantly searching for violations, said Russian President Vladimir Putin last year, and are consistently doing it themselves. But there are fears that pulling out will make a bad situation worse by triggering a renewed arms race.
They've been violating it for many years, and I don't know why President Obama didn't negotiate or pull out.
The Obama administration did criticize Russia for violations in 2014, but European allies pressured him not to withdraw. Trump is not heeding those same warnings, though many senators, even in his own party, are urging caution.
We have complaints that they're not in compliance. They also have complaints that some of our missile launchers in Europe are not in compliance. Let's have a rational discussion with experts on this and see if we can resolve it.
Thank you. John Bolton, Trump's hawkish national security advisor, will discuss the treaty during a trip to Moscow this week. A frosty reception awaits. Russia has criticized any U.S. move to withdraw, calling it a very dangerous step. Ellen Morrow, CBC News, Washington.
Here are some of the other stories we're watching tonight on The National. In Mexico, a massive caravan of Central American migrants grew in size overnight from 4,000 to 5,000. Mexican officials don't seem to be blocking their push to the U.S. border. Donald Trump has threatened to close the border if they reach it. And this is the twisted wreckage of a passenger train that derailed today in Taiwan, killing at least 18 people and injuring more than 170. It happened on a route popular with tourists. The cause is not yet known.
For months, our Go Public team has been documenting the frustration of telecom customers and the revelations of current and former telecom workers. Well, tomorrow, the federal regulator begins a week-long hearing into aggressive and misleading sales practices. Tonight, Erica Johnson has the story of a frustrated customer who will be presenting his case on day one.
It's actually a way that I connect with my community.
Shad Ahmed relies on the internet a lot. He's a blogger and social media activist. He's also angry after signing up for a year of internet service with Rogers, believing he had a guaranteed price, only to see it increase.
This is what I would expect from a fly-by-night business, not from a major telecommunications provider.
After he complained to a mediator for telecom disputes, Rogers gave him a credit. But Ahmed says telcos shouldn't be allowed to increase internet prices during a contract. He wants the CRTC to create new rules to prevent it.
Do your job. Your job is to protect Canadian consumers, not to protect the telecommunications industry.
The minister responsible for telecommunications, who ordered the CRTC to hold an inquiry, says Canadians need a mandatory code of conduct.
It's about protecting consumers. It's about making sure that consumers are treated with respect and fairness.
Later this week, consumer advocates will call for an industry code of conduct for internet and cable services. One already exists for wireless. This telco watchdog says there's already one benefit to the hearing.
It's done in public. So we'll see the companies struggling to explain their actions, and that in itself is a real gift.
Ahmed says he'll speak not just as a Rogers customer tomorrow, but for all consumers unhappy with telco tactics.
They will always find a way to raise prices as much as they can, as often as they can, until we can't take it anymore. And so unless the CRTC steps in, this will continue.
And Erica joins us from Vancouver. So clearly, Erica, some customers and advocacy groups want changes, but what about the big telecom companies?
Well, we're going to hear from a dozen telcos towards the end of the week, including Bell, Rogers, and TELUS. In their written submissions to the CRTC, the big three essentially say that these issues of misleading and aggressive sales practices are not widespread. They also say that there are already plenty of protections that exist for consumers, such as the CRTC, the Competition Bureau, and the Telecom Dispute Mediator.
Now, I was surprised to learn that the regulators actually conducted focus groups and an online survey, and those results have just been published.
Yeah, the regulator asked people to take an online survey. Thousands of Canadians did, and the results are interesting. About 40% of people who responded said that they had experienced sales practices they considered to be aggressive or misleading, most within the past year. 77% want governments at all levels to act to protect consumers from these sales practices. 83% support a mandatory code of conduct for the telecom industry. Now, Ian, this inquiry has to wrap up by the end of February and make recommendations then to government.
Okay, Erica, thank you.
Thank you.
Still ahead on The National, it's one of the largest urban forests in North America, but disease and pests could wipe it off the map. How Winnipeg is fighting to save its canopy.
Canadian filmmaker Rob Stewart died making his documentary. His family's journey to finish sharkwater extinction is the Sunday interview.
And the Fifth Estate digs into the world of Uber, why some are calling on the company to develop a better screening process for its drivers.
Get out of my car now!
I am just
Get out of my car now!
I don't know where I am.
Get out of my car now! God damn you to hell!
In just 7 years, the ride-sharing service Uber has changed the way millions of people get around. As the company spread to 600 cities worldwide, it's now valued at $70 billion, it's faced criticism that Uber drivers too often pose a threat to their passengers. The Fifth Estate has been investigating the company, and co-host Gillian Finley joins us now in studio. What did you find?
What we found was the real issue, Ian, was about vetting. Uber says it does appropriate screening of its drivers, but our investigation found strong evidence to the contrary. Allegations of harassment, assault, even worse, and some of it even caught on tape.
Get out of my car now!
I am just
Get out of my car now!
I don't know where I am.
Get out of my car now! God damn you to hell!
This is what Uber's image makers are battling against. Drivers abusing passengers, usually women, some of it captured on video. Incidents of harassment, abuse, and even worse.
Tonight we have a warning for women who use Uber, which advertises itself as a safe ride home.
Uber refuses to say how many assault complaints it's received, but investigations in the United States have come up with some startling numbers.
CNN has documented at least 103 Uber drivers in the U.S. who've been accused of sexually assaulting or abusing their passengers in the past 4 years.
I think the number is more like in the thousands.
Los Angeles lawyer Lisa Bloom is a celebrity in her own right, a go-to attorney for high-profile sex assault complainants. She's been hearing about Uber drivers for years.
Well, we've heard from dozens and dozens of women who allege that they were sexually harassed or assaulted in Ubers, including violent rapes. And we've represented several dozen women with those kinds of claims. We've also filed lawsuits over this. This is a very serious problem.
So, Jillian, what about here in Canada? What did you find out about driver-passenger incidents?
Well, we started by asking Uber, and as we said, they wouldn't answer any of those questions. The police records don't always make that clear either. So we did a search of legal and news media databases, and we came up with at least 24 cases of drivers in Canada criminally charged with harming their passengers. At least one of those drivers on the app was there despite being on probation for an earlier assault.
So presumably there's some level of screening.
Yeah, there is, but it's not as to the same standard as taxi and limo drivers, for instance. You know, typically they have to actually go to a police station to have their records checked. In some cities in Canada and in many cities in the U.S., Uber contracts those checks out to a private company that may or may not have access or pay to have access to all databases. So in the U.S. in particular, there are numerous cases of people who should have been rejected as drivers by Uber's own standards. Nevertheless, they're driving.
It never occurred to me, but it sounds like it's pretty easy to become an Uber driver.
Well, this is one of Uber's selling points. They say it takes 4 minutes. If you have a basic driver's license and less than 9 demerit points, you can be on your way. But as for training, there isn't any, not really. There's an online video that teaches you how to use the Uber technology, but there's nothing about how to navigate, how to keep passengers safe, anything like that.
And you've mentioned a few times about Uber not answering questions. More broadly, what does it say about all of this?
Well, generally, their argument is, look, we're not a transport company. We are a technology platform. We just put people, riders and drivers together. We're not really responsible for what happens. They say because of that, they shouldn't be regulated like a transport company, and increasingly in Canada and elsewhere, they're not.
None of these things I've ever thought about as I get into occasionally an Uber car. Jillian, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You can watch Jillian's entire story online. Just go to cbc.ca/fifth.
Still ahead on The National, the race to save the urban forest in Winnipeg before pests and disease change the city's landscape forever.
And the Sunday interview, why the parents of Canadian filmmaker Rob Stewart walked away from their jobs to make sure they finished his documentary.
He was dedicated to thinking that he was on Earth simply to basically showcase how beautiful the ocean really is. And he had to save it. He believed that that was his obligation to mankind, to save the ocean. And he spent every waking moment on that mission.
Documentaries don't make it to the big screen very often, but a sequel to an award-winning film hit theaters this weekend, and it's already creating a lot of buzz. That's in part because the man behind the camera didn't live to see his project through, and it's only because of his family's love and devotion that his hard work didn't go to waste. Our Andrew Chang picks up the story from here.
The most important thing for me when filming sharks is to try to understand what life is like for them.
Rob Stewart made it his life's mission to protect sharks. His films helped change the way we think of them.
See that they're beautiful and amazing and magnificent and important, then maybe they'd want to fight for their protection like they fight for pandas and elephants and bears.
His documentaries got people talking. He became well known around the world for his activism. And governments began to ban the finning of sharks.
They're loading the shipping container full of tens of thousands of pounds of blue sharks.
But the shark hunting industry just moved deeper underwater. Stewart continued his advocacy, traveling across 4 continents, exposing the threat to sharks until a tragic diving accident ended it all. Stewart died while filming shark water extinction, but his parents, struggling with their grief, decided to finish Rob's documentary and bring his story to the world. I met up with Sandy and Brian Stewart at their home in Toronto.
Watching the film, you do get a sense of what Rob was like. But I'm very curious to know, go back even earlier than that. I mean, what was he like as a kid growing up?
He was just always curious, always loved animals, was chasing absolutely everything that moved.
We go up north to a friend's cottage. The first thing he'd do when he got there was he'd be at the car looking in the woods, and he'd come back with some sort of salamander or something. It wouldn't be a frog or a toad.
A water snake.
Or a water snake. You go, how'd you find this? But he always did it.
And the more unusual it looked, the more he actually loved them. He could see the beauty in the most, unusual looking creatures.
And with sharks in particular, was there a moment?
Oh yeah.
For him?
Yeah, he was about 8 or 9, I guess, and we were in the Caribbean, and he met his first reef shark in water, and he was at snorkeling.
Face to face?
Yeah, oh yeah, and he wasn't, he had heard about Jaws and knew about Jaws and all the terror that the media portrays of sharks, and he sees this shark, it's about the same size as him. And the shark looks at him, and they make eye contact, and the shark freaks out and takes off, and Rob goes, he's afraid of me, and I'm just this 8-year-old kid.
So, a lifelong mission began. Rob studied sharks, worked to protect them, and dedicated his life to showing us their mysterious world.
He was on a mission.
He was on a mission, and he stayed on that mission his whole life. And quite honestly, I mean, he was dedicated to thinking that he was on Earth simply to basically showcase how beautiful the ocean really is. And he had to save it. He believed that was his obligation to mankind, to save the ocean. And he spent every waking moment on that mission.
My parents worry all the time, yeah. What I've always told them, I just have this belief that I'm gonna be okay, and I'm sure I'm gonna be okay. And the amount of times that I've almost died and ended up okay have sort of reinforced that belief that I'm gonna be okay. I know exactly how I'm gonna die, when I'm gonna die.
There is a point in the film, a very eerie moment, where he talks about death.
Yeah.
And he talks about you. He talks about the concern that you both had for what he was doing. What was that like for you, first of all, when you...
We had Nick Hector, an award-winning editor, do the edit on this film. And we asked him that, and he said, no, there's no additional sound to that. That was the only thing that he said.
I think, he was the internal optimist. He really was. He believed mankind would rise to the occasion and change our habits and change our thinking on a lot of things. And I think, we used to joke about Rob, come on, have a desk job, come on, take over mom and dad's business or something like that. He had no interest in being behind a desk. So I think when he said that, I think it was more or less him saying, I know how I'm going to go. It's not going to be behind a desk. It's going to be out doing something to help change the world.
This is United States Coast Guard Communications Station, Sector Key West. We request to know if you need assistance. Over.
Watch standards at Sector Key West Command Center received a report of a missing diver. The diver is identified as 37-year-old Robert Stewart from Toronto, Canada.
I know when you got word that something terrible had happened, you dropped everything. You rushed immediately to Florida. What do you remember about the search?
We got down there as fast as we could. We walked into something that looked like a Star Wars movie, a command center down there, and they were showing us the images and what they had done and the search that was going to happen because the sun was just coming up, and they were adding planes and they had the boats out there. The boat had actually been out there all night. It was 3 days and it's almost a blur.
I said the Coast Guard, if Rob had to swim 20 miles, he could do it. He was that fit, and If he did pass out and he did wake up and the buoyancy device was working or so on, then he could be anywhere.
And I read that at one point they were going to stop the search, but you had a talk.
We heard that normally there was maximum search would be probably 24 hours. Then they said most searches, extended searches, are 48, and we heard they were about to call the search off after 48 hours. And we went and see the head of the Coast Guard, and he's an amazing man, and we said to him, we know you want to call the search off. We need you to search for another day. We have to believe. And I looked at him and said, do you have children? He said, yeah, I got a 27-year-old son and a 23-year-old son. I said, if it was your son, would you stop? And he said, we'll search. One more day. And they did.
Rob filmed everything, including his last dive. When it came time for the two of you to pick up where he left off, can you explain that? What was going through your mind?
You know, you're talking about the footage in the last dive. I still haven't been able to watch that.
You
Nick,
just want to stay
no,
away?
I've seen, no, I've seen parts of all of the footage. I just haven't seen that continuous footage. But we had Nick Hector put together the edit. And he was the one that took on that monumental task of weeding through the 400 hours and, you know, picking it out. Rob left notes, though, you know, mind maps and, you know, iPad drawings with each story sequence, you know, the footage that he wanted in each story sequence, the messaging that he wanted that footage to show. So the roadmap was very, very clear for what he wanted to see.
Yeah, he left extraordinary notes. I mean, getting into his computer was a big concern. It was password protected, and we got into his computer with the password gratitude, which tells you oodles about Rob. When we got in there and we started going through his notes and realizing the whole movie's there. Doesn't match footage, we don't know. And Nick put together the first rough cut, and we saw that, we said, my God, we have a movie. We have a movie that Rob would be proud of.
You know, I understand how you were able to put the movie together, but I'm not sure I understand why you wanted to put the movie together. I mean, you very easily could have taken all that footage, put it in a safe somewhere, and walked away.
Yeah, not if you knew Rob.
It was, the issue's important. It was really important to Rob, and the message is one that I think the world needs to see. And we just felt compelled that we had to finish it. It was something Rob would have wanted.
That was never an option, I think, in our minds. I mean, it was really difficult the first month because Rob's body couldn't come back to Canada for weeks. We didn't know what to do about a funeral. We didn't know what any of those things. We had to sort out all that stuff. And that was really emotional. I mean, there's just nothing like it that I could ever imagine happening to us. And going through that and then realizing that he died doing something he loved to do and he was on a mission, we could not finish it. There was never an option not to finish this movie and get the message out. And also, in a sense, honor him with that little segment at the end, and honor his legacy. He was an amazing person. He was my best friend. Sorry. Give me a minute.
We take a break. Rob's parents say they actually haven't had time to properly grieve. They've been so busy. But after a few moments, the Stewarts want to come back and talk about their son and how he created a new mission for them both.
We walked out of our jobs basically that night and haven't been back since. And fortunately, the company's still running, and we think it's still running. But we're on a new mission now. We're going to continue working on what Rob was trying to accomplish, and he inspired so many people to step up, go study marine biology. I mean, we have countless letters from all over the world and saying they saw shark water, 10 years ago. He changed, and when he passed, we got letters in saying he changed my life. I'll never forget him, and I'll always remember him, and I'll continue his mission. So there's disciples, if you want to call them that, all over the world now, picking up the torch.
Well, that feels like a wonderful place to end. Brian and Sandy, thank you so much
for your time.
It's wonderful.
Thank you so much.
What great parents. Still ahead on The National, pests and disease are threatening hundreds of trees in Winnipeg. The fight to save the city's urban forest.
We can't imagine what it would look like or what it would feel like if we lost that canopy, and it can happen over a relatively short period of time.
But first, tomorrow night on The National, Susan Ormiston takes a look at the unprecedented and mass thawing of Canada's glaciers and how it's affecting our climate and ecosystems.
The Khashoggi Glacier, 70 kilometers long, 5 kilometers wide.
Glaciers are fantastic barometers of climate change. They average out the signals over time, so they tell us what's happening on a long time scale. So sometimes we think, oh, it's so cold this winter, how could the planet be warming? But the glaciers are telling us that yes, over time, we have a warming planet.
As a homicide investigator, you're not very often delivering good news.
I have carried the scars of this case my whole life.
I will never forget. One of the hardest things I've had to do in 33 years on the job.
It's traumatic for anybody to come home to find a loved one is murdered.
We can't right the wrong. All we can do is find the truth. This is the most I've ever talked about it to anybody.
I will never, ever be the same.
I felt like a supermodel. That's really good. Oh.
Here are some of the stories we'll be following on The National this week. A sexual assault trial involving one of Canada's highest profile gymnastic coaches gets underway tomorrow. Dave Brubaker coached the national women's team at the 2012 and 2016 Olympics. The allegation stems from a series of incidents involving Brubaker and a girl he was coaching who was under the age of 16. The charges have left many in the gymnastics community shocked.
I think that the gymnastics community is holding its breath, waiting to see what comes forth.
Brubaker's on administrative leave right now. His trial starts tomorrow in Sarnia, Ontario. And another case we'll be watching, accused serial killer Bruce McArthur, expected to make a court appearance tomorrow. McArthur is facing multiple counts of first-degree murder in the killings of 8 men, many with ties to Toronto's gay village. In the wake of questions about how officers handled the investigation, Toronto police have created the city's first missing persons unit. On Tuesday, New Brunswick's legislature is back in session for the first time since the election, and the province could be headed towards a new government or another election. The Liberals have one less seat than the Progressive Conservatives. Problem is, no one will agree to be Speaker, and without one, the session can't move ahead. So it will be up to the Lieutenant Governor to decide to give the PCs a chance to govern or send New Brunswickers back to the polls.
And the Streamy Award goes to...
Tomorrow's a big night for internet stars. The 8th annual Streamy Awards will be handed out to the biggest names in YouTube and online videos. Among those up for a Streamy, Ottawa's Elle Mills.
I'm very old. I have no idea what that is. Now let's turn from new media to some stately old trees. My hometown of Winnipeg has a large and spectacular urban forest, but it's actually under threat from pests. Those trees number in the millions, and they're a point of civic pride. So with so many dying, the CBC's Cameron McIntosh shows us how the city is fighting back.
Natural beauty that doesn't come naturally. On the Bald Prairie, Winnipeg sits beneath one of North America's largest urban forests. All of it planned, planted, and preserved over a century and a half. Now, limb by limb, being lost in a battle against nature itself, playing out in parks and front yards.
To me, it's almost like a funeral. Sounds very dramatic, but we chose this area to live in because we fell in love with the trees.
It's estimated Winnipeg's urban forest has about 8 million trees, including North America's largest collection of American elms. City planners had streetscapes like this in mind when they started planting them more than a century ago, not anticipating the problems that would come decades later.
In the 70s, Dutch elm disease began ravaging Winnipeg's elms. The city is still fighting it. Over the decades, tens of thousands of dead elms were replaced with ash.
There's a lot of ash trees that were here once. We've removed them.
Now those are facing lethal threats. The emerald ash borer and cottony ash psyllid have moved in.
We're in a crisis.
Martha Barwinski is Winnipeg's head forester.
We are really at a risk of losing a significant portion of our canopy.
Winnipeg is now a global study case on invasive species and urban forest management.
It really is a beautiful urban forest.
Barwinski is leading a tour of North American specialists.
But today we're just going to give you a demonstration.
Explaining Winnipeg's strategy, treating sick trees, removing infested ones, in a desperate race to catch up.
We can't imagine what it would look like or what it would feel like if we lost that canopy, and it can happen over a relatively short period of time.
And right now the city is marking sick trees faster than it can cut them down. Over the next decade, it will spend more than $100 million just trying to get ahead of this, all while searching for new resistant breeds that in time can grow to fill the holes.
What's going to happen is we're just going to see the landscape of our urban forest change.
Hopefully without losing too much of what the city already has. Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Still ahead on the National, our moment of the day, the Canadian man who smashed a 43-year-old record in Toronto's marathon.
Just elated and glad I was able to finish strong out there and come away with a great time.
And in case you missed it, there are marriage proposals, and then there are marriage proposals of such romantic imagination, so thoroughly next level that frankly, you guys, most of you should just quit now. Forget it. It's done. Ladies, come on. We're all going to go marry. Captain proposed to his sweetheart on a cliff in California's Yosemite National Park here. This breathtaking photo was captured by Michigan photographer Matthew Dipple. He was shooting in Yosemite when he turned around, and there they were.
I didn't have a whole lot of time to act, and I already had my settings all ready to go, and I just pointed my camera at him and snapped away.
Dipple is now obsessed with finding them and giving them a copy to wish them well, but no luck yet.
Posted it in hopes to find them on everything, and now on Twitter it's gone viral.
He's not giving up, though.
Truly hope the photo finds you. I've got a pretty solid photo for you, and I'd really like to share it with you because it's truly a beautiful moment.
Lovely sentiment. In fact, let's marry Matt too.
At the Toronto Waterfront Marathon today, a 29-year-old man from British Columbia set a new record, becoming the fastest Canadian to ever run the race. His name is Cam Levins, and his triumphant finish is our moment of the day.
When I started moving well the last 10K, I knew I could do it. And once I got into the last few kilometers, I knew what I had to run, and I was well capable of it. And last 500 meters, I'm like, it's happening no matter what. I knew for sure by that point that I would have no problems getting it. I'm so happy. I've had a rough couple years. I had surgery in the middle of 2016, missed the Olympics, and I just entered that last 10K and thought, I'm taking back my career. I'm getting back to where I was. And sorry, it's a big moment for me. Got a cruise tomorrow down the Bahamas with my wife, so we'll be celebrating, getting some warm weather. From there, I look towards another marathon, I assume. I don't know which one, but I imagine a spring marathon, and we'll see.
I have to say, I was thinking about the only thing that I do for 2 hours, 9 minutes, and 25 seconds is sleep. I don't think there's anything else that I do for a 2-hour period of time, so that's impressive. And also because he broke that record, which was around for 43 years, he got an additional $43,000, $1,000 for every year the record was held. So that will also be nice for his cruise.
A record that is, may I say, older than you are.
Just by 1 year. I appreciate you letting people know.
Well,
But I
say
remain
that-
young.
Yeah,
But I remain young.
Absolutely. It's there is no 57-year-old record out there to be broken. Let me tell you. But yeah, an incredible thing. And as I understand it, it's his first marathon. He competed in other long races, but nothing like a marathon. And it is incredible. But to train for this again, outside of your and my area of not even expertise, just even basic knowledge, is that he was training for this running 240 kilometers a week at altitude in, I think, Colorado. This is not a world we know.
No, that's a level of willpower I do not understand.
Yeah, no, me neither. Anyway, okay, that's the National. October 21st. Good night.
Night.